A lot of rain in the area, but the Phillies snuck one in yesterday. They beat the Orioles, and now they head out for a 4-game set against the Cardinals. We'll get an interesting test. Seth Everett, NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network. You can listen at NBCSportsRadio.com. Covers Major League Baseball, and we've got a Phillies team, Seth, just one game out of first place, right around the quarter pole of the season. But I guess we're about to find out a little bit more about this team with this Cardinals matchup.
Well, look, I think that the Phillies have to recognize that they have caught a lot of the attention of the country. I think the Nationals took notice, and I think that, you're talking about a team that has, gotten through a good stretch of the season and are still competitive. And you know what? They were supposed to be a team that scored a bunch of runs. Their offense has been inconsistent. They were a team that was going to struggle on the mound, and their pitching's been above average. Let's see if they can, reshuffle that combination, continue to get the quality pitching, and see if the offense can contribute even more. I think that, there's a lot there. I am more interested in next week when the Braves come to town, and that's kind of the thing that I kind of have circled, because I think they're the other team in the division that has kind of said these were supposed to be rebuilding years, and look at that. Look what we could, look at us hitting the accelerator. Remember last year we talked about the Yankees and the Diamondbacks and the Rockies as teams that had kind of hit the accelerator on the rebuild program?
Yeah.
Well, the Phillies and the Braves are this year's version of that.
They sure are, and they got a couple of reasons. Nola and Arrieta at the top, but Jake Pivetta, he's been throwing outstanding. You wonder if the back end of that Phillies rotation can hold up. I think that's one of the big questions, to see if this team can sustain, is if they can find that third guy ahead of those first two, and if Pivetta's that guy.
Yeah, that will remain to be seen. Let's see what they can pull off, because if they can do it, that would be a wonderful thing. And, we knew that Arrieta would provide a veteran presence. I think he's got he's something to prove too, and I'm glad to see it. And it gives Gabe some options. And I still think they're figuring out the bullpen. I know he's getting criticized for going to these guys too much, and that's the new thing in baseball. I don't know if I told you. I wasn't on with you the last couple of weeks. There's been a great statistic. Jason Stark, our buddy, our mutual friend, wrote this in The Athletic. That baseball has had 400 more strikeouts this season than hits.
Unbelievable.
And the other one that was amazing was if you project this season throughout, just take whatever numbers there are now and just multiply that by the remaining games. That baseball is set to have 10,000 less balls hit in play than 2009.
It's crazy the way
we're not talking about a long time ago.
No, and it's crazy, Seth, that people, it's just now accepted that a strikeout's okay. In what world of baseball was that okay? Like, hey, put the ball in play, see what happens, move a guy over, productive out. Productive out is out of the lexicon.
Well, I told you the story about the lunch I had with. I was at Citizens Bank Park I was checking out. I think it was the opener. And I was in the press room, that press room where everybody's having lunch, and I was sitting with these scouts. And, one of the guys I knew for a long time, the other guy I had just met, and they were telling me that they have teams. I can't tell you the teams, because I promised. But there are teams that coach launch angle. And launch angle is a new thing that, this MLB.com StatCast and all this stuff that they get, all kinds of money for. And StatCast checks out launch angle. And they told me that they have taught on both the major and minor league level that launch angle is the first priority for a hitter at the plate.
Yeah.
Contact is number 2. And that launch angle is the most important thing, because if you have the right launch angle and you happen to make contact, the ball will go a long way.
Exactly.
Right.
Which turns into the whole exit velocity and all of these new words that are entering the baseball world. But it doesn't seem that you just mentioned 10,000 less balls in play. That's 10,000 less chances for something to happen.
That's exactly right. and so that's exactly right. And so what has happened as a result of that is we are talking about a league that is when people talk about, well, how do you use a bullpen this much? Well, this is the new normal.
Right. Well,
and this is part of what it is. And, we can have a grander philosophical conversation about the health of the sport, but the reality of it is if you're going to compete, you got to compete this way.
Yeah, and Kapler used 4 relievers. The Phillies play for 8 straight days, and I mean he's using 4 guys that will essentially get through 3 innings yesterday, and they don't really have a closer. He went with Hector Neris for a third of an inning just to kind of finish that game off yesterday. But you're in May. You wonder what this bullpen's going to look like in sometime around August.
Correct. You just kind of wonder. And I wish I had a simplified answer to that, but I don't. And I'm not sure how this is all going to play out because ultimately, for my money, I have been disappointed with the way teams have kind of diminished roles. And that's why, people ask me about Bryce Harper all the time. He could be the first and the last $400 million player because this sport is diminishing the value of a Jake Arrieta. And so, Jake Arrieta is the poster child for look how a team just waited it out and the salary went down and the years went down.
Right.
Well, you're going to start to see more teams take that philosophy with players. The players' union is going to have a canary, but that's where this is coming.
How important is the bullpen in today's game? I mean, and a closer. I mean, because obviously the Phillies closing is a big question. If they're going to make it, is it important to have that guy at the back end of the bullpen in today's game?
One guy, I think it's valuable. But if you get the outs, it's not. Did Cleveland have one guy? They kind of had like 4 guys. You know what I mean? And Andrew Miller,
really good ones.
Right, but Andrew Miller, when he was required, he was the 7th, 8th, or 9th guy,
right.
And he was their best pitcher. You know what I'm saying? So, is there value there? I think so. I think there is value there. I'm not sure going forward how this is all going to play out because all I see is I throw those caution numbers and say, I don't see a change anytime soon. I don't see this being something that will fix. And if that's truly the case, man, I'm nervous for this game.
Seth Everett is with us, NBC Sports MLB, as the Phillies take on the Cardinals for a 4-gamer, and that one should be pretty interesting. As Seth mentioned, next week it'll be Phillies and Braves at Citizens Bank Park, so we will see potentially the top 2 teams in the National League East, but a lot of teams. How about Pittsburgh at the top of the Central? Do they have staying power with Milwaukee? Both those teams, 25 and 26 wins.
That's the strangest one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one that I don't get. The Pittsburgh Pirates, I've watched 3 of their games in May, and I look at the roster and I go, come on.
Right.
They're not that good. I can't imagine. Milwaukee I get. Cubs I get. Cardinals I sometimes get. You'll see the Cardinals. You'll see a team, and you'll say they are not a fundamentally sound team, that St. Louis team. And it's amazing to me because I like Matheny, the manager, and I love the Cardinal franchise, and I just can't stand their fan base. But the fact remains is that you talk about the Cardinals, and I just thought they'd be a tighter team by now, and they're not.
Last look at you got Miami at 16 and 26. You got the Dodgers at 16 and 26. 6 straight losses for LA. What is going on in LA?
Yeah, it's an execution thing, and their pitching has fallen off. Their lineup, they're not scoring runs. There's been infighting. I think that could be Brian Price was the first manager fired. I could see Dave Roberts being the second, which is amazing considering they were just in the playoffs.
And considering the White Sox have 10 wins at this point of the season, they are 10 and 29 in the American League. We've got the Yankees at the top with the Astros. The Yankees playing 700 ball. The Astros 28-17. They lead the West. So some very good early season quarter pole stories. Seth Everett, NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 Sports Talk Network, which you can listen at NBCSportsRadio.com. Download their mobile app today. Kind enough to join us on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Seth, thank you, pal.
Oh, you got it, my man.